the wounds start to heal. Apparently, did you know, burnt wounds takes about a week to develop, and for you to fully understand what the implication of a burn is, especially more serious burns, it takes about a week. So yesterday I was in hospital and then trying to keep him um, comfortable at home. And then today we went to the burn specialist clinic for kids. So pretty much the last 2 days has been just keeping George comfortable and happy and all the things. So it's been a tough start to 2025. But hey, that's motherhood, right? Now, this year, I really thought about what sort of content, what sort of information I would love to bring. And I was guided to start with the principles and the three main pillars of the Way Back Home, which is the new brand I have created, that is going to run the mentoring, the mindset side of the business. And I really look at this brand as the foundations of all the other sub brands that I have created, attracted, and all the other business ventures goes from there. So the Way Back Home is really the home base. Funny enough, right? It's really the home base for everything, where everything grows. And the three pillars are family and relationships. So it's our relationship with self, our relationship with our family, our extended family, and our community, our place in the community. And then there's the health aspect, which is a very broad term to summarize a lot of different type of health: mindset, mental health, emotional health, physical health, and spiritual health. Anything to do with our health and well-being, I believe. And then there's the wealth component. And funny enough, that's been a topic that for me I felt very tabooed and didn't feel like I should be talking about it. I didn't feel like I am the expert in this field. But if I really look at it, if we look at wealth as a whole, what generates out wealth? It's career, it's your business, it's your wealth creation, your multiple streams of income, and also the money works, right? Like the belief side of things and the mindset side of things and the programming side of things. So what I have come up with is essentially I'm going to have series. I'm going to have 3 series that talks about these 3 pillars, which is family, relationship, health, and wealth. And right now I'm really, really pulled to talk about my career journey, to the wealth side, how my career has flourished because of all the other wealth work that I'm doing. And I quite often think, you know, in Australia it's probably a bit more prominent. In Asia, sometimes it's a little bit prominent. We almost thought that our career is the only path of wealth generation. But there's a lot of things that we need to do as the underlying work. So I'm going to start the series by talking about wealth, but also the first part of this wealth series, I'm going to be focusing on the career aspect. I guess the career aspect is also interesting because I'm currently in this, what I call the gap between the old and the new. Right. I've handed in my resignation at the end of last year. This Friday the 24th is going to be my last day at this job, that in this company that I've worked for over 11 years. And because I stopped working, I started in 2014. No, maybe it was like 2013. Yeah, I started in 2013. I quit in 2014 because I thought grass was greener on the other side, and pretty much came back right away. 4 months later, I was back to work in the same company. So on and off more than 11 years. And this time around, the only reason that I haven't quite reached my 10 years is because this thing called maternity leave. And also, yeah, I'm almost there. About 6 months short. No, 8 months short. Anyway, but I really think for me, as I go through my career and transition, there are so many things that I wish I knew when I was younger. Maybe I don't have to work as hard, or maybe my career path wouldn't have to be so difficult, or it doesn't have to take me so long. But I still consider that, being in the industry for 20 years and being in this position, I'm pretty lucky. I really consider myself pretty lucky. Um, and I think a lot of it has contributed to the work that I have been doing in the past 10 years, really. If I look at the first 10 years of my career and the recent 10 years of my career, the way that I do things, the mindset, the mentality is the complete opposite. And the result is a very clear indication of the work that I have done. So if I ever quote numbers in this episode, it's not to say, hey, look at how good I am, but it's almost as a way to show you what doing the work means. So I started in this career. So I started working in Australia in 2000 and I'm going to say 20 years ago. Almost 20 years ago, 2007 is when I started working in Australia. Before then, I actually worked on a few internships in Taiwan. Now, if we're going to do pay, the internships in Taiwan is like nothing, right? I got paid, I think, either $6,000 or $10,000 for 3 months of work. Taiwanese dollars, okay? Back in the days, it's like 1 to 25. So $1,000 Taiwanese is like $40 Australian. Is that right? For 1,000 would be 25,000. So 100 would be 2,500. So if it's, I know, can't do my maths right now, but I've got my phone. So it's not a lot, right? It's not a lot. $1,000 Taiwanese would equate to 40. So 6,000 would be 240. That's all I got paid for 3 months working in Taiwan. And that's from 9, generally the hours are like 9 to 7 or something like that. Sometimes even later. So crazy, right? And then when I started in Australia, I was on $40,000 a year. That was pretty good because I went to all the interviews, and the ranges from 28,000 to 40,000. I took the 40,000, of course. And a lot of my architect friends when they first graduated, they were on $26,000, $28,000. So that gives you a bit of perspective. The first 10 years of my career, I would say, I'm trying to think, tripled it. So I managed to get to 6 figures throughout my first 10 years, but then I tripled it again, pretty much, in the last 10 years. Which, if you really look at volume-wise, I would say that's quite significant, right? You do the math. I would say that's quite significant, and I truly believe it's really credited to money and mindset work. So this is pretty much me setting the scenes. This is me setting the scenes about what's to come. And throughout the next couple of weeks, we will slowly unpack the various things and techniques and the wealth evolutions that I have been on in the past 10 years of my career, and how personal development, owning a business, and doing the work has really helped me thrive in my career. So for me, if you want to build wealth purely on your career, it is a little bit more limited, but you can 100% do it. And you definitely want to make sure then you work on your mindset, you work on your beliefs, and you work on your money wealth creation as well. So for me, even though at the very young age, I pretty much shut down my spiritual gifts because it was a little bit too daunting for me and it wasn't very accepted in my family. Even though, like, I know all the females in my maternal line are all very psychic. They all have psychic abilities. They see people in their dreams. They communicate to people in their dreams. But they kind of don't want to accept it as well. Also, we have a very close relationship with Kuan Yin as the goddess that's been looking after my family for eons. And we've got a very spiritual connection with her. So for me, even through high school, picking my career path, it was quite straightforward for me. I kind of have this balance of, I know from a logical approach on what my gut feels like. Like at high school, I had to pick between, when I was going into university, it was actually a choice between operatic singing and doing music as my major, or architecture. And I just intuitively knew that if I do opera singing, I wasn't going to be amazing at it. And also the lifespan was quite short and I wasn't going to love it forever. So I picked architecture. And did you know that I was actually one of the lower performer going into architecture school because my grades were great. I had one of the highest scores going into architecture school in terms of my grades. But my portfolio wasn't that great. So I always have this idea that I wasn't creative because I was surrounded by so many creative people. After graduating, during my final year, I was like, number one, I really didn't want to go. I wasn't ready to go into the workforce. And I wanted to learn more about project management. I thought by doing project management, a master's in project management, I'm going to become a better architect because it's going to help me with my project management skills. It's going to help me with the practicality side of things. And I still remember my friends were trying to persuade me not to. I had a lecture that basically said, because I almost failed my final design paper, I went and spoke to my lecturer. And he basically said to me, why do you need my feedback? Because you're never going to become an architect now. You're going to study construction project management. And I was shocked, right? But I knew that was something that I needed to do. So I packed up my bag and moved to Australia with the intention that after I finish my degree within a year, I'll move back to New Zealand and I'll find myself an architectural job. Halfway through my degree, I was like, actually, I need to find a job because the budget that my dad gave me sucked. And I've always worked throughout my uni years, to have enough income. And all of a sudden I wasn't working because my degree requires so much of me. It was probably the hardest I ever studied. I studied the hardest. I loved studying. And the degree, the structure that they had, I was studying at UNSW, University of New South Wales, here in Sydney, Australia, back then. And it really brings out the competitiveness in me. So halfway through my degree, I went and looked for a job. I went to 7 interviews. That was back then when Australia was about to hit recession and government had a lot of stimulus packages out there. builders were looking for cadets, pretty much like graduates, freshly out of uni, still at uni. So I had a lot of opportunities. I literally applied for a job through a recruiter, and they lined me up for 7 jobs. So literally during my break, there was 2 weeks break. First week I applied for a job. The second week I was interviewing every single day, and by the end of that week I landed myself a job. So I started at the age of 25 as probably one of the oldest cadets in the industry back then, for a construction company. Actually didn't know much. I didn't have a car. I was just eager to learn, and I was just interested. I love being on site. So I ended up delaying my degree for another year. So I finished, instead of a 1-year degree, I finished in 2 years, but also graduated as top of the class because I loved it so much. And I also think in some ways because my year was a very strong year, but then a lot of the people that are not so great actually stayed behind a year like me. So that gave me the competitive edge. I was lucky in that sense. I graduated first. I graduated first in class out of 40 people. And during my time in my first company, I was just soaking up everything as a sponge. I'll take any opportunity I can. And sometimes I would ask to be on the jobs I wanted to be. But very soon I started to hit the point where I feel a little bit stagnant, where I'm doing the same job over and over again. I was looking for new challenges. So I went and looked for a job. I got the job. I handed in my resignation. My boss got really pissed off at me, so he didn't speak to me for 3 weeks. And finally, the week before I was about to leave, he came to me and he said, "Would you consider if I hand you a job?" Basically, it's not many people doing it. Definitely no one definitely no one with your age that's doing it. It's a new job. We don't even know what the description is. It's called design management role. Do you want to have a look? So I looked into it, and the offer was great. It's more than what the other job gave me. It gives me a challenge. I love the fact that it's new in the industry. So I basically rejected the job offer, stayed in the company, took on this new role. Now, I had no idea what design management means. None of my colleagues or my boss or anybody in the business knows. All I knew was there was a job at Plaza Hotel in Terrigal. And it's a great opportunity, prestige client. What I didn't know was it's a very demanding client. Hotel clients are the most demanding, especially when they have external project managers that knows what they're doing. They demand high standards. And back then, me didn't know what to do. The consultants were double my age. It was embarrassing, right? It was embarrassing for the business. And my clients and all the consultants could clearly see that I had no clue. And I had a client side representative that's essentially calling me every single day, telling me basically how bad of a design manager that I was. And I was crying a lot. But all I knew was I'm very competitive and I would do whatever it takes to prove people wrong and to be better and to be the best that I could. So after that job, believe it or not, I knew what design management was then, and I became really good at it. I became so, oh my God, my phone just fell down. Oh, oops, Instagram. So my phone holder just broke. What am I going to do there? Oh, I know. Hold on a second. All the Instagram people just got a view of the rest of the room. Okay, I'm gonna put you guys here. And Shen, if you can cut that off, that would be amazing. Thank you. So yes, where was I? So I worked hard to fine-tune my craft, and so much so my responsibilities start to increase. It went from just the design side, to helping the company win bids, to actually writing proposals, collating information, doing their audits, writing their standard document. So I got a lot of exposure. But what I realized was, after 7 years with the business, I was the person that knows everything, that got everything done. But that also means the people around me just thought, well, Angela would look after it. And I wasn't actually growing in my skill set, but I ended up doing everything. So I was exhausted. I was working 7 days a week. And the deadlines sometimes are ridiculous. It was just like, you know what? It's not worth it. It's not worth it. And so I ended up resigning and came to my current company that I work for. But like I said earlier in the piece, I think I was at that stage. It was when I hit my Saturn return. And I was just feeling very unsettled in this new job, and I couldn't find my foot after a year and a half. And I just continued to look for something better. Now, mind you, though, that was back in the days when I have not done any personal development work. Right. So the discomfort, really, I truly believe today, if I would have just worked on myself, understanding, I wish I knew I had my Saturn return that at the time, I wouldn't be able to work through it. And I probably wouldn't need to change my job. But the benefit of me changing my job is I came back into a different position that allowed me to do what I love. That allowed me to actually do something different rather than dealing with money. So my role when I started in the industry is what they call a contract administrator, which is really dealing with contract and finance. And I'm not a money person back then. I didn't have a good relationship with money, and it was something that if I really put a lot of effort in, I would do well. But it requires a lot of effort. It's not something intuitive to me. Where I am good at is actually running project, like writing proposals, doing programs, scheduling things. That's what I'm good at, looking at design and documentation. So for me, jumping away and coming back to this business, it allowed management a time to think about what's the best job for me. Also allow me to think about what's the best job for me. But then again, so I came back to the business in 2015. In 2017, I resigned again because I got a tap on the shoulder from a recruiter to say, "Oh, we saw your CV on Seek, and we thought you're a great candidate for this job." And I was like, that was like 3 or even 5-year-old CV. How could it be still be relevant? Well, obviously, my mentor back then has helped me craft a really good CV, so it was still very much relevant. I went for a job interview. I told them the amount of salary that I wanted. It was $30,000 more than what I was getting paid then. I was like, there's no way that they'll match the price. They matched it. They offered me the job. And when I said no, they gave me $10,000 more bonus as a starting bonus. But what I did was I went back to my current job and I said, look, it was an accident. I didn't even think I'll get the job, but I got it. would you have something to counter offer? And I was very genuine. I said, would you have something to counter offer? And they said, no, we don't. However, the aged care and retirement living division have been looking for a design manager for a while and haven't had any luck. So long story short, that became my job back in 2017. At the end of 2017, I think it was October 2017, I was promoted as a design manager. Now, I wrote a post a while ago now, probably a couple of weeks ago, or maybe last week, on LinkedIn about what a design manager really do. And it was really interesting, even though I saw it as a promotion. My managers were like, well, to us, it wasn't really. You were just doing a project engineer role, which is a slightly lower role. But to me, and to those people who doesn't understand what a design manager do, it's essentially a project manager that manages consultant. But it's more than just managing the consultant. It's managing the client's expectations, their vision, and making sure those client visions gets translated into design vision, and those design visions are then documented appropriately. So the people on site that are building it can see the vision and they can build it. Quite often there's a real disconnect between the client vision to what's happening on site. And so you end up, the way that I describe it, let's say if a client wanted a square with rounded edges, the architect would go, oh, let's do a circle because it's prettier, or a oval. And the builder would go, no, let's do a square because it's easier and it's more efficient and it's more cost effective. My job is to make sure when a client wants a square with rounded edges, they can work with the architect and go, oh, hold on a second, that's not what the client wanted. Just remember, they're your client. And to the builder and go, well, actually, you can build it this way and it will still be cost effective and you'll still keep the client happy. So that is really what a design manager do. But a lot of times people kind of see us as just paper workers that works through drawings and documents and keep registers and schedules and all that things. And to me, that is actually not our genius zone. Our genius zone is about bringing communities together and bringing a cohesive vision together as a team so the team can work together. And that's what I love about the job. But did you know when I first started my job, that was not my understanding. I was a very poor communicator. I was almost dictatorial, like dictatorship. And I used to not care about consultant relationships. I used to flick consultants, like I wouldn't call them, I would just flick them. And to me, I still have very much the builder mentality, just like we just want to build it cheap, right? And it took me a very long time. And it's really through my own personal development journey, I started to learn about how I can deal with people differently, how I can actually communicate with people differently. And that really made me a lot better at what I do. And it helped me build relationships. It really helped me build relationship. And I really cannot thank my managers back then with their wisdom to help me realize that there's a different way. Help me realize that there are different options to maintaining relationships, but also be productive in what we do and create good results and good product. But the biggest lessons I have learned through this experience of, to a lot of people, it seemed like I'm keep jumping ship. But sometimes it's more, you've just got to ask, right? You've just got to ask. A lot of times the opportunities that exist that you can see on a advertisement are not the best opportunities. You know, we often talk about, is this a silver opportunity, a gold opportunity, diamond or platinum? The platinum opportunities are never advertised. And I'll talk about it in some of the future podcasts that I'll be talking about. But through my various experiences, what I realized was that sometimes you just got to ask, right? But at the same time, sometimes we really need to, it's not just about what you know, it's about how you know what you know. Do you believe in yourself enough to really see what you know and you value? And then what is your really belief of your worth? So, really, a lot of times to me, wealth work, money work, it's really about worthiness and deserving, right? And throughout our careers, it's really about understanding how much are you worth. So often people talk to me about, I feel like I am underpaid, I feel like there's a gender gap, pay gap. But when I ask them, how much do you think you're worth? And how much are you willing to fight for what you're worth, right? Often I think what I hear a lot is my managers should know how much I'm worth. But the truth is they don't. Your managers are just human beings who perhaps follow rules, perhaps just do the things that they do. They don't know how much you're worth. You need to do the homework, you need to do the research, and you're only worth as much as what you really believe you're worth, because that inner belief is reflected out as an outer belief. I truly, truly believe that. So, number one, you've just got to ask. Number two is really work on your self worth, work on your worthiness and deserving. And if you think, well, I don't know, I think other people should do the work for me, then work on it some more. For me, I can really see the times when I have done the worthiness work, I've done the receiving work as well. I can really see the difference. The times that I didn't think that I was worthy and deserving, I would work long hours. I would work my butts off, but people still don't appreciate me. When I found my job, when I had this promotion into design management with my current company back in 2017, I had just finished receiving work from my mentor back then. We've just cleared a whole lot of belief about worthiness and deserving. And I've just started to learn to receive, to open my heart and receive. And the magic that I received from that, I was actually in debt because I was targeted by a fraudulent company overseas in Africa. Essentially, I lost $12,000 overnight. Now, to some people, that might not be a lot of money, but to somebody who had a mortgage back then, was single, it was actually a lot of money. So I was living paycheck to paycheck, trying to pay off this debt, and I was on essentially baked beans. For those of you in outside of Australia, it's like canned beans, or I'll have chickpea and tuna on last week of the month because I was in debt a lot of times. And through my work in working on receiving, I paid off my debt because of this job that came in. My business started to thrive then. And I can really see when I have done the work, things would just flow. Things would just flow. And so I truly believe that if you find that your career is struggling, if you find that there are moments where either that your career is stagnant or life just feel like you're in a really bad place, look at your belief. Look at whether you believe your worth, your worthiness, and your deserving, and look at your receiving work. How willing are you to receive? How open are you to receive? And how much do you actually believe in wealth and abundance? This is something that my dad used to say. I don't know whether he still believes it or not. When I first started my own business, he's like, why do you have to be so ungrateful? Why do you have to start business? Why do you? And that used to bother me a lot. But then I realized the more money work that I've done, what I realize now is, you know what? We all need more money in this day and age. I even had a friend that literally said to me, "Oh my god, the way that you love money is how much I love sex." I kind of want to roll my eyes sometimes, but I'm like, it used to probably bother me a lot. And now I'm like, well, I get it. I get it. To some people, they're like, you just love money. But if you think about it, why shouldn't we love money? If it wasn't for money, I wouldn't have this roof over my head. I wouldn't be able to feed George. I wouldn't be able to be here and talk to you guys. I wouldn't be able to have a car that drives me around. How grateful I am of money and how much I love having money around me, because it allows me to do the things to support me, to feel safe and secure, to have a home, to have the foundations of my life being looked after. And if I can then start to generate overflow, then I can start to serve my community. I can start to serve my client. I can start to do more charity work. And I can start to do my purpose work more, because I don't have to then stress about everything else, right? And to be living in this vibration, this high frequency, is what allows many, many, many of us, especially the wealthy people, to continue to attract more. And if you think about the opposite, if you live in your lack and scarcity and you don't believe in your worth, and you live in a very negative place, money doesn't like that energy, abundance doesn't like that energy. So like attracts like, but like and dislike, they repel each other. It's like magnets, right? They repel each other. So we want to make sure that we create this like for like environment, and the belief that you are worth whatever amount, whatever that you are worth of being paid. So then you can attract that. When people are like, well, I'm going to start a business so I can quit my career. I'm like, I love my career. I love being construction. I love building retirement villages and homes and aged care homes for people, because I feel like I'm making someone's last few years of life better. I feel like I can contribute to a greater quality of life and greater quality of even memories. Or maybe I can help someone's last few days, years, days, months journey become a more pleasant one. And that gives me joy, that gives me happiness. And it is because of that. And it is because of that I know that that's worth more than what anyone can ever pay me for. But also because of that, I continue to build relationships with clients, with consultants, with my team, that it's a passion and purpose-driven connection. That allows me to build a reputation and allows me to attract aligned opportunities. I won't spill the beans though. Obviously, it's kind of like, just treat this series kind of like, when you're watching those mini series, I want to kind of treat this like a mini series. So every time we come in, we have some stories. I'll share some lessons learned that I have learned through my career, and how, all these work are all intertwined and interweaved. That's what I truly, truly, truly believe in. But for today, I think that's in a lot of information, but enough information for you to get started. If 2025 is the year that you really want to focus on your career, you want to attract a more abundant career, a job offer, or you want to look at, career progression, what I would really suggest you look at is, what do you believe that you're worth? Let's say if your salary is 100K at the moment, I'm just taking it as an example, and you believe you're worth 130. What I'm going to challenge you is, well, what is it that you need to do to increase your worth? Your belief in your worth and your actual worth. Right? I would like you to also then write down, what are you good at? What's your skill set? What's your, what makes you stand out? What's your personal brand like? All these things, and really starting to think about, if you are to create this elevator pitch about you, if you are to tell people all the good things about you, what are those things? And if you really struggle with these, then it's a sign that you need to work on. What you need to work on is not the technical skills, it's actually your belief about yourself, right? Work on your money beliefs, work on your beliefs, like believe in yourself. I think that's really the main thing. But then also just ask, like, do your homework. How much are you really worth? Ask for a promotion, ask for opportunities. And if things doesn't work out, apply for a job. But you've got to be the person that's driving it. And also, if you feel like, finance is a bit stagnant, career or business is a bit stagnant, work on your worthiness and deserving. Work on your receiving. There's no harm in it. All I know is, every time I work on those things, every time I look at my leak, I look at my belief, I look at where else there are the little, tiny little, almost like black spots in my belief system, in my energy field, in my wealth beliefs. My career, my wealth would grow tremendously. And if you're like, I don't know how to do those, find a coach, find a mentor, find a healer, whoever that you feel called to work with. Or you can reach out to me. You can work with me, or I would, recommend you to all the different people that I know could help you in their area of expertise. Work it out. Right? Don't just sit there and expect things to change. I should read something on Rachel Hollis's new book, What If You Are the Answer, today. And in the first chapter, she talked about how Seth Godin talked about this thing, that a lot of people think if they either change, like take dramatic change, or stick with something. But the truth is, there's a third option. You stick with something, but you renew your belief and passion about it. You don't just sit there and expect things to change. If you want to stay there, then renew your passion. Do something about it and change your belief about it. Change your passion about it. Change your state. Change your energy and frequency. Right? Ultimately, it's your energy and frequency that is going to attract the opportunities, the money, the whatever at the same frequency that you are at. So if you're at a low frequency, you're going to attract low frequency things. If you're at a high frequency, you're going to attract high frequency things. And things like abundance, like money and purpose, all those beautiful things and amazing things we love to have in our life, they're all high frequency. So your job is to do whatever it takes to up your beliefs, up your worthiness and deserving, up your receiving, and up your frequency. It's not about how technical you are. It is, but I would say if you're listening to this, there is a high chance you're very technical and you're very good at your job. So then work on your beliefs. That's me for today, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I loved it. I love sharing stories, and that's really part of my human design, is to share stories, share my experience, and use that to encourage others to elevate their life, I guess. I'm excited about this little mini series thing that I'm doing in the podcast. I think it's different. It's going to be fun. There's a little bit of suspense, I know, a cliffhanger perhaps. And hopefully you have loved it and enjoyed it and will love to come back for more. Love you all so, so, so much. And I will talk to you next time.